We have discussed writing bridges before, and of course, we have given plenty of attention to choruses. Another song section that many people struggle with, however, is the pre-chorus. How do we approach writing a pre-chorus? Should the pre-chorus differ drastically from the verse before? And how do we ensure it leads well into the chorus afterwards? Keep watching as we're about to answer these and more questions right now.
In order to write a good pre-chorus, we need to understand its purpose. As the name suggests, the pre-chorus is the section directly before the chorus, and as such, it needs to set up perfectly for the hook. Moreover, the verse right before needs to flow well into the pre-chorus too. And when talking about toplining a pre-chorus, we also need to keep in mind what the instrumental sets up for.
All of these can make it a bit tricky to generalize and prescribe a pre-chorus writing formula. However, sometimes the best way to learn is by looking at examples. So let's explore 4 approaches to writing a pre-chorus, and do tell us which one is your favorite in the comments below.
Plenty of pop songs don't have a distinctly different pre-chorus. Listen to this example.
You can blame it on the time zone and being confused, but the problem is you.
The pre-chorus instrumental does not change drastically from the verse, and the top line simply develops on the verse by raising the pitch and adding more syllables. But why did Sorn and Minnie choose to do this? The verse is rather short, built around repetition of long phrases, meaning that the song doesn't really need a huge amount of contrast so early on. However, the changes in rhythm and pitch range add enough variety to keep things interesting and importantly lead us into the chorus.
Let's look at one more example.
All the blood that the blood from you, all the pain I felt it too.
Once again, the verse starts off low in pitch and with a phrase which repeats twice. Then we develop it further by raising the pitch and switching up the rhythm, perfectly setting up for the chorus. This is also helped by the instrumental, with instruments dropping out right before the chorus.
So now it's time to say who's a lucky fool, better pay a visit to.
All in all, this is still a rather minimal energy shift, perfectly suited for the short verse structure.
But what if we have a longer verse?
Having a 2-part verse which develops more can make it challenging to decide what should come right after. We would have developed the energy a decent amount by now, so a good pre-chorus would need to keep things interesting, but not overpower the upcoming chorus. Tricky, right? Let's see how some of your favorite songs have done it.
Unlike the examples so far, Saviour's verse is longer and a bit more complex in terms of development. To keep things progressing, the pre-chorus switches things up, but not too much to change the entire mood of the song. Compared to the verse, the pre-chorus top line drops the pitch a bit, and is comprised of long notes. It also establishes a very distinct rhythm, signaling that this is a different section. The instrumental aids that by changing the harmony, however, the general instrumentation remains the same, preserving the specific genre sound.
Let's look at another example, which achieves a similar goal, but in an entirely different way. Here the instrumental preserves the underlying harmony. However, dropping the low end introduces a new feel as it removes the core foundation and punch of the track. The top line in the verse is built around rap, but the pre-chorus turns rather melodic. Moreover, the second pre-chorus top line, while still melodic, is different from the first one. All of these changes keep things rather intriguing, but the preserved elements ensure the mood does not change too much.
But as you know, we talk about K-pop a lot on this channel, so let's look at what most listeners would consider a classic K-pop pre-chorus.
Very often, when thinking about what sets K-pop apart, we think of pre-choruses which almost feel like their own song. The long verse top line has a regular rhythm and sits fairly low in pitch range. The contrast lifts the energy, quite literally, by raising the pitch and increasing the range the top line sits in. This said, the top line doesn't do all the work here. The instrumental changes quite a bit, switching up from the walking feel of the verse to long bass notes and piano chords. It then builds in energy together with the top line, setting up for the chorus.
Let's look at another example with this classic K-pop feel. The verse is groovy with a playful top line that plays nicely with the rhythm of the instrumental. The pre-chorus quickly switches things up with dreamy long notes on the top line and an atmospheric instrumentation before it drops us into the catchy chorus. As you may notice, this is, both in the instrumental and the top line, the exact opposite of the verse before, which creates strong contrast.
But we have even more examples for you.
Na, 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 na. You don't know about me. You don't know about me.
Psycho's verses are built around rhythmic, melodic and rap lines, and the chorus is as hard-hitting and catchy as always. So it is only fitting that we have a contrasting melodic pre-chorus with a build-up reminiscent of EDM genres, something YG artists are very known for. Similar to the previous example, notice how strong the rhythmic contrast between the sections is. Moreover, the chorus also set up for a new melody. Another noteworthy detail is the very end of the pre-chorus. Similar to some of the earlier examples, most instruments drop out, ensuring maximum contrast with the chorus right after.
So far, a lot of our examples consisted of rhythmic verses and melodic pre-choruses. And this is indeed an approach which works very well. However, we can spin things around completely too. Having a melodic verse is a great way to softly start a song, as we can then build up for the chorus with a rap-based pre-chorus.
But are these the only ways to write a pre-chorus?
So far, we have looked at pre-choruses which develop on the verse, introduce a bit of contrast or drastically switch things up. However, as with anything music, we can be creative here too.
Between the lines like a Lucifer, devil in disguise, we know how this works.
In Your Fantasy has long developed verses, but the pre-chorus is very short, with incredibly minimal instrumentation and a spoken word style top line. In a way, this is similar to the small contrast examples we explored earlier, however, the delivery makes it stand out quite dramatically here.
And let's look at one more example for today.
Two choices black and white. What is the situation? Can't really believe my eyes.
Grey Zone also features a spoken word pre-chorus with minimalistic instrumentation. However, this time it leads us into an anti-drop, further making the song journey feel like a roller coaster ride. Once again, we drop out the bass, but both the delivery and the distortion on the vocals make this section stand out even more.
Wow, we discussed a lot of examples today, so let's summarize how we can approach writing a killer pre-chorus every time.
Firstly, always consider the bigger picture. What rhythms is your verse top line using? Is your top line more spacious or more busy? Is it more melodic or based around rap or spoken lines? No matter which of the approaches we showed you today you want to go for, answering these questions will ensure you have a quick way to try out contrasting ideas.
For instrumentals with short verses and a similar pre-chorus section, think of the pre-chorus top line as developing the verse further, a small step towards the chorus.
If the instrumental features a long verse but does not strongly switch things up after, consider how you can introduce contrast on the top line specifically, and remember whether processing can add extra spice here.
For instrumentals with strong contrast, figure out if you can use the exact opposite approach of the verse for your pre-chorus. Counter rap verses with a melodic pre-chorus, or vice versa. Utilize long notes if your verse was built around short notes, and so on.
But now it's your turn. What are some of your most favorite pre-choruses, and can you now explain why? Let us know in the comments down below.
Huge thanks to all of our Ko-fi supporters for making such videos and some amazing events possible, and do join our Discord community so you can be part of them too.